Traditionally, E3 focuses pretty heavily on the software side of things, all the cool games and the big announcements and the shiny reveals. This year though, hardware fans were in for a bit of a treat too, with 2 big console announcements from Sony and Nintendo, and a whole bunch of other stuff dotted around the show floor. We took a look at what was on show in Los Angeles and have rounded up some of the highlights from E3. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen. This year was, of course, the big reveal of Nintendo's latest home console, the Wii U. It had been so heavily swamped by rumours and speculation in the weeks leading up to the press conference that nobody was quite sure what the thing was going to look like, let alone what it was going to be called. Tuesday morning's pre-E3 press conference got right to the heart of the issue fairly quickly, wasting no time in announcing the new console, which takes inspiration from this generation's motion sensing controllers as well as the current trend of touchscreen tablets. Initial reactions were polarised, with many gamers writing the whole thing off as a gimmick. As the Expo rolled on over the next few days and fans and skeptics alike were able to get their hands on the new tablet controller, they tried out some of its many features and the new HD Wii U won the heart of many showgoers. While the look of the hardware itself is still in the planning stages, it seems fairly similar to the current Wii, with a box that sits under your TV to read game discs. The tablet can be used as an additional screen or as a controller, and the whole deal is compatible with current Wiimote controllers too. Now, I admit I wasn't completely convinced at first glance, but having had a chance to play around with the hardware and really feel the new controller, I'm really looking forward to seeing where Nintendo go with this one. With the right sort of games developed for it, I think it could really be something special. Something else pretty awesome was the other big hardware darling of the show, Sony's new PlayStation Vita. Known in another life as the PSP2 or NGP, the Vita was officially named and on show at E3 2011. Already a bunch of big-name developers have jumped on the Vita's possibilities, putting up their hands to develop for the new platform, like Ken Levine from Irrational Games.
And before I go, there's another game we've been thinking about for a long time. It's a bit of a pet project of Irrational's, and it's set in the BioShock universe. And this has been kicking around for a few years now. And it's very early days, and the design is still evolving. But recently, we found the right home for it. It's on this guy. On the NGP.
As with anything, it is the software that's going to make or break this console. At this stage though, rather than merely porting current-gen PSP titles over to the bigger screen, it's great to see that developers are picking up on the Vita's new abilities. Games like Mod Nation Racers and Little Big Planet make great use of the back touchscreen when it comes to terrain deformation, but I'm waiting to see how it's implemented into other non-sandbox titles. The onboard cameras add an extra level of fun too, meaning that games like Reality Fighters can really put you into the action. It is a bit bigger than the original PSP, you won't be able to slip this one into your pocket, but in a world where everything is getting smaller and smaller and you have to squint to see what's on your screen, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Once we finished looking at the big name stuff, we took a look at some of the more interesting bits and pieces on display, including these nifty little add-on joysticks for your iPhone or iPad from Fling. Having had a bit of a play around with them, they're great, but they're not quite perfect. For something like Geometry Wars, like we had here, the extra controllers really did make the game easier and kept my thumbs well out of the way. But for something like the iPad version of Battlefield Bad Company with its split-screen controller system, it was a different story. The game wasn't quite sensitive enough to interpret the joystick's subtle movements. Still, it's early days yet, and the more people start using controllers like this, the more iOS game developers will create games specifically for the hardware. Something that doesn't need specifically designed games is this Avenger housing for your Xbox 360 controller, which adds so many levers and straps that I didn't think it could possibly make anything easier. And yet, it does. We chatted about the controller, where it came from, and where it's headed in the future.
Okay, basically David Kotkin, he's an art teacher in Miami, and he originally invented the controller for a disabled kid. He had a little help from his students. So the original Avenger, as you can see, didn't look anything like that. And it evolved into this. Now, it not only helps disabled children, Vietnam vets, people with small hands, but professional gamers as well.
Rest assured, a PS3 version is in the works, so stick around for that one. A couple of interesting bits of racing game technology were also being shown off, like replicating reality, a new 3D fully immersive headset from Fourth Dimension Displays.
So it's a fully stereoscopic system, separate left and right eye video. It's also got a head tracker, so he feels that he's in there. He's got the full audio immersive experience. He's cut off from the real world. He can't hear me, and he's driving the car. And as you'll see here, as he moves his head around, you will see that the video tracks it and the head motion tracks. So he's in a complete virtual environment.
Perhaps in the future a headset like this one from Fourth could work with the game racing seat from Playseat. It's a comfy racing chair designed with a spot for your favourite force feedback wheel. There are models designed for PC, PS3, Xbox 360 and even Wii, and a new model that's designed just for flight sims. Heading to PC for a while, there was the usual array of awesome peripherals from Razer, including a new set designed specifically for Star Wars: The Old Republic. Subtlety's never really been Razer's strong point, so these keyboards, mice and headsets are covered in Sith and Jedi logos, bright flashy LEDs and a general George Lucas aesthetic. But it's not as simple as gaudy lights and brazen displays. The mouse comes as a fairly standard model, but the headset and keyboard are the result of a bit of a collaboration with the game's developers. When you're actually logged into the Old Republic, the headsets will light up when enemies approach, responding to signals in the game. Similarly, the LCD keyboard won't rely on your reflexes when it comes to switching functions. Instead, it'll pick up on things from the game as well, changing appropriately for the context you find yourself in. There's also a multi-touch LCD trackpad, which will show off a bunch of stuff, and in case you thought the keyboard wasn't cool enough, if you turn off the backlight, you'll find the only thing printed on the keys is the Aurebesh alphabet from Star Wars. Anyway, Nyko had an interesting booth at E3 too. They were the ones handing out those long cherry red wigs to people on the floor. They were also showing off a handy new add-on for Kinect, which cuts down on the amount of space required to use the technology. The Nyko Zoom simply clips over the Kinect lenses and allows gamers to play in 40% less space than the Kinect traditionally requires. It's just been confirmed that the Zoom will be available in North America from August 23rd, 2011. And finally, if you wanted to do some real flying, who could go past the AR drone from Parrot? It was officially announced at last year's E3, but the past 12 months have seen the company and the technology move forward in leaps and bounds. The little quadricopter with its built-in camera can be controlled by any smartphone, with Nokia and Android handsets joining the iPhone. And as a testament to the hardware's capabilities, less than a week after E3, the AR drone was on site in Christchurch, New Zealand, where it was being used to monitor earthquake damage. This is a GamePron News Special Report, and I'm Jessica Citizen.